Hi, welcome to Edward Box Guitar Tuition. So my classic album inspection today is Ratt, Invasion of Your Privacy. It was released May the 30th, 1985. It's 40 years old today. Hard to believe that. I was just turned 14 when this album came out. Had great reviews in Kerrang. And my brother had heard, and I'd heard Round and Round played prior to this. And then I think Lay It Down was played on the Friday Rock Show as well before this album came out. So my brother went straight out and bought it. Obviously that day came home, and I still remember the sort of feeling and the moment when the needle hit the groove, so to speak. Just that great drop D riff came out for You're in Love, and you were there. Basically, you were just on board with what was going on. Great album cover as well, with a picture on the band on the back. So you could kind of look over and feel that sense of anticipation. So this was came out practically a year after Out of the Cellar. Let's just have a look at the Out of the Cellar date. It was February that was released. So the band were able to take 13 months. Beau Hill still on production duties. I think the first thing with this was the production's a notch up from Out of the Cellar. I think they had a choice of like one or two Marshalls for Out of the Cellar. They went through 40. Allegedly, I think DeMartini ended up back at the Marshall he discarded. But I think they had more time on this bigger budget and it shows with the production. It's crisper, the clarity's better, the bottom end's better. So opening track, You're in Love, 3 minutes and 12. I think, first of all, that just shows you Ratt's abilities to write really catchy, concise songs. This song's got a verse, bridge, chorus. It's got a cool riff. It's got a fantastic lead break by DeMartini, a cool fade out. They're just... they don't get enough credit for this, really, how good they were at crafting this stuff. Guitar arrangements as well, excellent on this. The very underrated Robin Crosby, still bringing it. Then you got Never Use Love. This is written by Stephen Pearcy. Again, people forget Pearcy is a good writer and he can obviously play guitar well enough to craft a good riff. What I love on this is the shake. DeMartini in particular shaking that double stop shape and again just giving it pizzazz. This has got a Robin Crosby lead break on it. I actually prefer Ratt when Robin Crosby does lead breaks, although Warren DeMartini is a far superior guitarist. I do like Robin Crosby's lead breaks. I like having the contrast. I think it adds to the sound of the band and makes it more interesting. So he does a decent break on this. Again, this is 3 minutes 54. Does an outstage welcome, really cool second track. Then this track kind of faded off into feedback, and then one of the great riffs comes in, of course, Lay It Down. This in drop D tuning. This is their take on Van Halen's Unchained riff, I think, really, with the sus-4. But what's awesome on this, they put in the added ninth on that stretch and then kind of slide up with a cool inversion. Amazing riff, amazing bottom end on this, really cool groove. Very mature solo by DeMartini. The way it drops in the key of C minor instead of D is really interesting. In actual fact, apologies there, the riff isn't C minor. I mean, he kind of uses the C pentatonic minor scale, but of course it's got that major tonality on the first chord. But the whole band gets on this apart from Bobby Blotzer. It's just a great riff. How good is this riff? To come up with a riff that's almost as good as Unchained is amazing. Then you've got Give It All. This is kind of a bit of a forgotten track for the band. This brings in the key of A, so you've had drop D, E, drop D. So this is a cool, typical A riff, A minor with the cool dyad, so to speak, double stops. Again, 3 minutes 19. Really like this track. Absolutely scorching guitar solo by DeMartini. This is probably the one solo on the album where DeMartini's kind of doing something similar to what he did on Out of the Cellar, where he's doing liquid fast, picked hammer on pull-off runs, and he hits a bitchin' pinch harmonic. Brilliant. So side one finished with Close to My Heart. I've always had a kind of on-off relationship with this track, but listening to the album yesterday, it was really refreshing when you listen to this album in order. This is a really well crafted track and the album benefits from it. It's got a nice 12 string, decent Crosby lead break, formed at 30. Pearcy's vocal is decent-ish. I would say Stephen Pearcy on this album is not as good as he was on Out of the Cellar. Out of the Cellar, he made a big effort. Bohill pushed him. I think by this point it was harder to push him. You know, I think he's got quite a big ego. So anyway, but a strong side one. Side two open with Between the Eyes. So this is actually pointed out as the same sort of riff as the track Night Ranger by Night Ranger. This was in B minor, down, 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 down. But it's got a really cool, you know, transition. DeMartini does like a really cool kind of like rhythm lick. Fantastic guitar solo by DeMartini with great vibrato, and he did some great sort of whammy scooping at the end, which I always liked what he did. He kind of ditched that after this album a bit. Again, through his 54, really cool fade out that breaks away with just the 12-string acoustics, which are tracked into the chorus. Again, an intelligent use of instrumentation by the band and Bohill to create a really good soundscape for the track. So I'd say the next 3 tracks are sort of a little dip, but they are good. This is probably why the album, I would say, isn't as loved quite as much as Out of the Cellar, or there's people who prefer it. Obviously Out of the Cellar, you know, at this point you get Back for More, you get that great Scene of the Crime as well, The Morning After, so it does have a bit more consistency. But what you give is what you get. I'd probably say this is the weakest track on the album, but it's decent. It's got a nice riff. Juan Crucier writes it for him, it's 47, so it's more than a good enough album track. Got Me on the Line's better. This is the shortest track on the album, 3 minutes 4. This is really catchy. And it's got Robin Crosby going, "Nobody hangs up on me" at the end. Pretty cool lead break on this. Is it? No, it's the next one. You Should Know By Now. Now this has got a really good call and response riff, which I really like. I think this is the best of these 3. It's got a really catchy chorus. The solo's really good. It's this one. Robin Crosby does a nice break, and then DeMartini comes in and really builds on it with some cool pentatonic, cool vibrato. So stream is 29. The album finally finishes with Dangerous But Worth the Risk. So this is a important track for me. This was the first track I ever saw played live by a proper band. So I saw them supporting Ozzy. This was my first gig. They came out with this track. Probably mentioned before somewhere. DeMartini hits a 3rd fret dive bomb harmonic after it's like before the second verse starts. And when he did that live, it was just like fucking hell. I never heard anything like it. The band were very good live, I must say. The only stupid thing they did solo spots apart from One Crucial. I mean, a support band that had a drum solo and 2 guitar solo spots. I mean, that's one of the bad legacies of Van Halen, you know. Anyway, you know, its headline bands are supposed to do solo spots, maybe 1 or 2, just to kind of give the singer a break. But this is a great track, so the album finishes on a really good track. So I think this album, listening today, I've kind of veered on this between sort of low as 8.5, but I think it is a 9. I think it's fair enough to give it a 9, or maybe, you know, in between 8.5 and 9. You know, people may not think it's as strong of Out of the Cellar, but it's more than a good enough follow-up. I was a bit in comparison. If you take an album like Telling the Tales by TNT, I think that's better than Intuition, but Intuition more than fits the bill. Unlucky by Doc, and I prefer Tooth and Nail, but there's enough there to go, oh, that's still great. You know, so this is a really good record. I'm just going to go into YouTube because there's just a couple of comments. I'm just looking here, pardon me, about this because I've not set this up, but I found some comments and on there's a guy called Danny Wasted shares full albums, but I think these comments kind of capture really what these albums meant, but also what the difference between grunge, you know, thanks bro, I took a break from my music, worked my butt off and raised 2 kids, they finished college, now I'm back baby, love this music. 1985, 86, 87, 88, 89, beautiful, and so on. You know, we won't have music like this again, someone's put still the best ever. I wish I could go back to 1985, awesome times. I'm still rocking 80s was the best decade, President Reagan era, sort of sums it up in a way. the 80s were just the best for metal and rock music. Most really, I feel blessed to have grown up with the whole thing, and so on. Yeah, so it's kind of nostalgia. This is the sort of music that doesn't travel, I think. Typically when these bands play live, it's a kind of state fairs for middle-aged people and things like that. And I think the difference between this music and what came after grunge, for want of a better word, is that this music was an escape. As personally, I didn't need a band to kind of communicate and feel my angst. I didn't need to listen to music and feel that the band understood what was going on in me. I just wanted to listen to music and escape from school or whatever and enjoy myself. I think the difference with what came after was that the listener recognised a kinship with the band and wanted to kind of embrace with the lyrics and recognise what was going on. The band was also maybe going on with them, even though it maybe wasn't. And that's a different thing. That's kind of soundtracking a psychology. It's soundtracking an inner life. This was all about an outer life. It was like getting in. Imagine if you lived in California. It's getting in your open top car and putting the cassette on it, and it's the soundtrack to that, so to speak. Yeah, I think that's a sort of a good finishing point to where this album, but also albums like this and all that whole era of 80s hard rock or glam metal, hair metal, whatever people want to call it, kind of fits in. So I'm finishing. I still finish a great record. 40 years old today. It's making me feel old. And remember, share and subscribe. And I'll see you again. Cheers.